One thing that I really like as far as the trends in technology, especially with Ross and things, is that you can start small and have a lot of room to expand and grow.
Absolutely.
You're not locked in, like you don't have to buy a 256 squared router right out of the gate, right? We can buy the frame, like we know we're gonna get there, we can't afford it today, but we can, scalability, whether it's routing, switching, graphics, cameras, it's all, to me, I think it makes it where when people get that second vision, I call it, like they get the hardware and they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Now I don't have to rebuild what I just put in.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a license, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the worst case scenario, you just slide another card in. And then you're off to the races.
Absolutely. I was a customer before I came to Ross, so this conversation's super easy for me.
Yeah.
Because I got to experience it, right? And so something I love is, even if you say you don't have budget for that bigger frame, and you have a smaller frame, well, the guts of the frame can be transitioned into a bigger one, and you can repurpose that other frame. Or maybe you want to just scale it in general and you kind of start over and you have this auxiliary frame that could be a fly pack. I mean, the amount of CEOs that are getting put on planes and the expectation for a high level stream for a town hall is increasingly high. So multiple people are saying, I'm starting here. Well, now my CEO wants to go to the other side of the country or to their global office. And they say, well, all we have there is, maybe a Teams system or something. And they say, well, I need the output to be going on Teams, but how do we make sure that the production quality is higher to feed that, or that I can record it? Back to you mentioned about, storage and things. So you can create these fly packs, and a lot of big organizations are starting to move towards that world and that model of, I have my home studio or my home auditorium that seconds as a studio.
Yep.
And then I have this smaller fly pack that goes out with one or two people, and they follow the CEO around. And when there's an important message, they can easily deploy it. What's also nice is, whether you have a small compact system or full-blown studio, it's the same interface. You're not relearning a new way of doing or executing a show. It's the same thing, which is super nice. So now you're not training people on multiple things, or you've got the new guy coming in or the intern, and you're saying, you're going to learn this here, and then tomorrow I'm going to put you on the other side of the building, and that's a completely different system. You learn it one time, execute it one way, and the more buttons, the more flexibility you might have. But when you go and look at it, it looks familiar, which is very nice for
Absolutely. And I get complaints, especially from older guys sometimes, that the industry is shifting over to hardware, from hardware companies to software companies, and kind of a negative connotation. And I argue that, if you look at what you're able to do, and there is some truth to that, right? I mean, we are shifting more to software driven. I mean, there's obviously going to be a hardware component for the foreseeable future, but the software is what's giving you that flexibility.
Yeah.
And I think it's also exponentially reducing the amount of cost, because the potential and the growth and the flexibility, when you had a fixed hardware piece of gear back in the old days, like that's all you're ever going to get.
Right.
And so I think that is something that's really, to me, exciting about looking forward into the future. So speaking of which, it's the end of February in 2026. You just came back from the ISE show.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear about some exciting things that, because David Ross was a keynote speaker.
Yeah.
And I tried to find his speech and couldn't do it, but I wanted to see if you can, as we kind of wrap up here, just kind of tell us a little bit about what David and Ross as a company is seeing, and what they presented to ISE as far as what's happening in our industry now and in the next foreseeable future.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to have David out at ISC and kind of plant the flag of what broadcast AV is and the different segments. And this is at anything from internal studios, auditorium, flexible event spaces, all the way to immersive, like architainment, things like that. These are big selling points for a lot of people. So maybe a developer in New York wants to make their building the most popular building. Well, how do you do that? Well, you can't, there's only so high you can build something, right? And it'll be cool to look at, but you also can't see things then half the time. So how can I leverage media to make this building a landmark? And so you saw a lot of things like that. How can we create technology that's not just something that you see, but you experience?
Yeah.
Which is really cool. The other thing I noticed at ISC was there's a bit of a shift away from what could be possible to very practical implementations. A lot of partnerships between those software platforms and hardware platform companies. A lot less, here's some big ideas, and we call it flash and trash, of just, it looks cool, it'll catch your eye, but you'll never buy it, you can't implement it. So, what I think was great is that the show did a really good job of laying out what 2026 in the AV world would look like. Market development. So I get to see, stats and where the investment is and things like that, which is, it's fun and exciting for that side of things. But what I really appreciated about it was it showed that investments will be made, but there's a lot of consideration. So from a provider point of view and a manufacturer point of view, being in the same step with each other to make sure that the customer is getting something very practical, because there has to be that return on investment. How do we protect them from putting all their eggs in one basket, if you will? So I agree, the software side is great, but the software it should be more than just an interface. Like the broadcast quality conversation isn't just how something looks, it's what's underneath the hood.
Right.
And I think even this year we had a major outage that we couldn't access Teams or something.
Well, that's right. Yeah, not too long ago.
Last year we had a few AWS outages, and the headline said something like half the country, the whole East Coast, basically couldn't access their collaboration tool. So how can I leverage software that gives me flexibility and leverage hardware to give me reliability? So when I have that CEO or that lead pastor, whoever the talking head is, their time's not wasted. We can still capture something and we can roll it later. There's a lot of flexibility you can do there. And then, how can teams that aren't in one place work together to create graphics and share those graphics and be able to plug in where we need to, or maybe have an operator on the other side of the country? If everything was on-prem, we can't do those things.
Right.
So how do we leverage the tools to open up flexibility, but give the operator and the engineer the reassurance that even if something happens and even if something goes down, I'm not dead in the water. There's not black on screen to where they're going, what's happening, and people are typing, I can't hear anything, I don't see anything. That's what I was excited about coming out of ISC. Really practical ways to leverage technology in ways that I think people have been moving forward or moving toward in the last few years, but now it's becoming very practical. These are tools people are using, they want it, they need it, they associate it with real ROI in their organizations. And I'm excited to see, NAB's coming up.
Yeah, around the corner.
InfoComm will be right after that. So I'm excited to see how people pivot manufacturer-wise and how to meet that demand, and also how the end user coming for the show will kind of demand, they want to see things in the way that it affects them. They want to see themselves in the product, not just we sold something.
Yeah, well, nobody is doing it better than you guys. I really appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us, drinking some coffee.
Absolutely.
And you're always welcome. I mean, we're seeing technology reinvent itself almost exponentially. It's growing exponentially. And, 6 months from now, we may be having totally different conversations after NAB and after InfoComm. And so it's a really exciting time to be in the space right now, and the possibilities are endless, and they're becoming more accessible. And that's the thing that excites me, is just being able to see more people enter in this space. And so thanks for coming and talking about all these things. And we come back and see us again soon, and maybe after InfoComm, we'll come back and do this again and maybe get an update on what's happening.
I'd love it. Thanks,
so Matt, thank you so much for coming. If you guys have any questions and want to learn more about the awesome team at Ross Video and the products that they offer, give us a call at 1-877-81-TakeOne. Check us out at mail@takeone.tv. And again, if you like this content, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That certainly helps. And we hope to see you guys on the next one.